Welcome back, everybody. My name is Taylor Martin. This is the best M-EDC, and a few weeks ago, I talked to you about my truck EDC. So I showed you all the stuff that I keep under the seats, in the center console, in the bed of the truck. And one thing I touched on was this little toolkit. So it's very similar to the toolkit that I keep in my backpack, but this one is much bigger. As you can see, it's a very big pack. This is a Maxpedition Beefy, I think it is. Yeah, it's not the fatty. This is the beefy. This is a big Maxpedition. But because this one is so much bigger and it stays in the truck and I'm not carrying it around every single day, I don't have to focus on the weight of it or how big it is. Obviously, it has to fit inside the center console, but I just wanted to pack as much utility as I could into a kit that I can just grab with one hand and go to work on whatever I need to work on, whether it's a truck or trailer, whatever it may be. This is the toolkit that lives inside my truck. So with that said, let's do the damn thing. So here we are with the truck EDC toolkit, I guess. I don't know, it's not EDC for me, but it stays in the truck. Sometimes I can take it with me. That's kind of the point, right? It's all contained within this one pouch. I can grab this handle and go, and I've got most of the tools that I would need for most jobs or whatever it may be. This is not first aid. There's no first aid in here really. It's just tools and essentials for getting shit done, I guess is the best way to put it. But like with any of the kits that I put together, this is a work in progress. I'm not really gonna know if I've really put together the perfect toolkit until it's time to really use this thing in the field, at which point I will probably take some mental notes and swap some stuff out and upgrade it or downgrade it or whatever, clean it out a little bit. But when I put together one of these kits, the most important thing is that I put it together, take it apart, put it together, take it apart a million times to make sure I've got the best organization inside here, but also so that I can learn how it goes back together. Because the order of operations and how to put this thing back together once you've got everything out of it is kind of crucial, because it won't always fit back together unless you know where everything goes inside here. So it's just kind of one of those things that it's almost therapeutic. When I'm watching a TV show at night, I'll take it apart and put it back together just to make sure I've got it in the right configuration. Now, the most recent additions were actually made this morning because a few days ago I made some notes on stuff I wanted to add to this, so I went and got those today. But the pouch itself is a Maxpedition Beefy. This is not the fatty, this is the beefy, and it is a beefcake, and I have it filled to the brim. I don't know that I can fit much more in here, and it may be that I have it a little overfilled. I don't know, time will tell. But let's get on inside. Actually, before we do, I've just got a few patches here that I've acquired over the years. We've got a Coke Tools patch, Prometheus lights, Benchmade, that was from the Blackout Blade HQ exclusive bug out, a Blade HQ patch, and a Zero Feud titanium patch. How cool is that? Anyway, let's get this thing opened, and then we're gonna talk about what all is inside this kit. So as you may notice, this thing is actually a little more full than when I did the truck video. I've added quite a bit to it, and I think we're just gonna have to start taking things out and talking about them. First up is mechanics gloves. I've been using these mechanics M-Pact gloves for years. I love them. These are the leather ones. These haven't actually seen much of any use. I got them, I think, when I moved into this office, and that wasn't long before the pandemic hit, and I've not really done much work outside or anywhere, really. It's just I've been a desk jockey for months on end now, but M-Pact gloves for mechanics are some of my favorite gloves. I always keep a pair, whether it's in the center console on my truck or at home. I've got multiple pairs of them, and I love them. They're just really good gloves for the price. So where do we go from there? There's a lot of stuff to unpack here. I'm gonna move this over to the side, and I think I'm just gonna start with the left side of the pouch. I first have an adjustable spanner. This is one of the things that I picked up earlier this week. So originally I wanted like a little socket kit that would fit in here, but I figured if I'm working on, say, the truck and I get one of those tiny little socket kits, they're not gonna have big enough sockets to work on certain things. So an adjustable spanner, while it's not as convenient as a ratcheting socket, it's more universal. So it's not the best tool in the world, but it's a very broad use case tool, so I figured that would be a really good thing to add in there. As you can see here, I also have just a little bundle of very small cable ties or zip ties. Those could be used for a million different things. I also have a bit extender, 1/4-inch bit extender. I have a plan for swapping and getting rid of this and the bit bar, but I just haven't pulled the trigger on it. Next to that is an Exotac fire starter. This is a little ferro rod. You may have seen these before. These are fantastic ferro rods. So it all just kind of nests together. You've got your striker and your ferro rod, and you can start a fire. I bought the truck with the intention to take it on long trips and go camping. So having something like this is essential. Once I have the rig finished, I'll have probably a couple more of those just to have them on hand. This is a little chintzy. I don't know that it really needs a lot of attention, but it's a little grappling hook. So I actually got this in a bespoke post box. It's chintzy, I know it is. I'm not trying to fool anybody here. I know this thing is probably a joke. I've used it and I've had a lot of fun with it. And I don't know that it would have a ton of practical uses. However, if I can even get this thing together, there is one reason that I've included this tiny little grappling hook in this kit rather than just throwing it away. And that is, I've seen just these crazy drone crashes that are in places that you can't reach, and people recover them with little grappling hooks. I think there's probably a better one for the job than this one. This is just a tiny little, almost like a gag, but it works. I've tested it here at the office where I tied a string to it, dropped it down and picked stuff up off like a 20-foot drop off. And I've had no trouble getting stuff up off the ground with it. So it actually works. I don't know if I could recover a drone with it, but it'd be better for me to have something like this in here and it not work than to not have it at all. Maybe I'll swap it out for a real, actual grappling hook that will pick up something larger than this. The thing is tiny, and I just don't know how useful it actually is. Probably not very, but a grappling hook in general is actually a really useful thing. All right, next up we have the Leatherman. This is a Leatherman I've had for a long time. Back when I started camping a lot, I picked up the Leatherman Signal. So this isn't necessarily a Leatherman that I would say is best for the job. I think it suits this just fine. It's pliers, mainly. Pliers and a screwdriver. So I mentioned getting rid of the bit bar. This has the interchangeable bit from Leatherman. So my whole plan is to get rid of the bit bar and this bit extender and get the bit kit from Leatherman and put that in here instead of this, because I think it'll work just fine. The bit kit has a bit extender and has a ton of different bits, and it's very compact, and it's well suited for something like this where a normal screwdriver and a whole screwdriver 1/4-inch bit kit is very big and bulky. So I will get the bit kit from Leatherman for this, which I've just not pulled the trigger on it yet. You also have a can opener / bottle opener and a reamer or awl. And then of course here you have a little diamond sharpening rod and a whistle. This is an emergency whistle and a ferro rod. And then of course on the outside you've got a saw and a combo blade. And then like the Skeletool, you also have a little bottle opener here in this carabiner. And this is actually technically a pommel, and then you have a little itty bitty driver or wrench right there. I don't think it's the best Leatherman ever, but it is one that I had, and it's just a spare that fit in the kit. I have in here a set of needle nose vice grips. I think small needle nose vice grips are extremely useful. They're like hemostats, which are very useful tools, but it's one of those that you don't really think about until you need it. And then once you need this for a job, you're like, oh my God, that is extremely useful. So needle nose vice grips. And then I just have a larger set of regular vice grips. Also over here, I have a pen just for writing stuff down. This is the TI Click EDC from Big Idea Design. It's the one I customized at Rick's shop. And the Vero Engineering pry tool, which has micro bits in it. This is really mainly for like tool maintenance. You can use these Torx bits to tighten a pivot screw on a knife or something to that degree. Along with that, down in this back sleeve here, I have a Weeha micro bit kit. So I will have multiple bit options for screwdrivers because the Leatherman bit kit doesn't have these really tiny bits, and the T8 and T6 are essential for knife maintenance. Unless of course you have a hinderer, and then standard stuff will work. You actually need Allen for the body screws, but the pivot screw on the hinderer is actually a flathead. In this sleeve, I still also have a Field Notes notebook, and I think the last thing here is this little shop rag just for wiping up grease or whatever. So now moving over to the other side of the kit, I have yet another set of cable ties or zip ties. But with these cable ties, I decided to go with color coding. So you can use different colors to color code whatever you're tying up. Or if you're tagging something, you can, not even if you need to tie anything up, you can tie a yellow zip tie around something to tag it and know what that yellow is. So that's extremely handy. I've also around the outside got a set of longer. I think these are like 8-inch, 6-inch, and I don't know what the other cable ties are, but having multiple options for your cable ties. I also have the field sharpener from Work Sharpen here for touching up blades, or this works for axes, hatchets, if you have a machete or knife. I mean, this thing will sharpen just about anything. It makes quick work of really dull knives out in the field. It's not something I would want to use continually for all of my sharpening needs, but when you're out in the field and you need to touch up a knife, this thing does the job, and it does it well. And then we've got just a few other things. So I mentioned that I have the bit bar in here from Big Idea Design. This is a fine screwdriver. It's not one that I tend to use a whole lot. It gets the job done, but it's not the best tool for the job at all times. Like I said, I think I'd rather have the Leatherman bit kit for a kit like this instead of the bit bar. I've gone back and forth between which knife to keep in this pouch. Back when I did the truck video, I had the Shaman in M4 in here, and now I have the Hinderer XM18 in 01 tool steel. This is the vintage in 3.5. They're both extremely hard use knives, and I think either one of them is suited well for this kit. I just ended up putting the Hinderer in here because I used the Shaman for something else, so I swapped out for a different knife. But both of them are extremely hard use knives. Something that I think most kits like this need is super glue. This is Rapid Fuse from DAP, and it works really, really well. I've used it on a lot of things lately, and it's just something that, you know, one of those things that you'd rather have in here and than not have at all. My fear is that this might leak. I would hope that doesn't happen. If it does, we've got a massive mess in here, but I've never had one leak on me before. I also have a brass Zippo in here with a butane insert. So this is just for lighting things. If I need to tie something up with paracord, cut the paracord, burn the ends real quick. Just having a fire source like that is extremely handy. The light that I have in here is the Perrin from Olight. It's a 90-degree or right angle light, and the reason I chose that is because you can clip this to things. You can still stick it to stuff with the magnet, but you can clip it to things and just have light in front of you. But it also works with, which I have in this little back pouch here, the head strap. So you can clip this thing to your head. Of course, you have lights that you can clip to the bill of your hat, but having a full-on headlamp is just very, very handy. I like this a lot, so this is the one that I keep in here. I've also got this roll of paracord, 550 paracord, just standard stuff. I think this roll came from Lowe's like 4 or 5 years ago. It's not the best paracord in the world, but it's rope for when you need it. And then I have two more things in here. One is another thing of cable ties, but these are Velcro or hook and loop, and they're more useful than these zip ties in a lot of different scenarios because you can tie them to the cord that you're tying. I use them mainly for like cords around the office and stuff, but having stuff like this, being able to keep a piece of Velcro tied to the cord that you're using is extremely handy. So the way that would work, I'll just do it this way. So you can wrap this around and loop it through itself, and then it will be tied to this cable tie. And then you can use this to tie other things to it. So it's like a reusable zip tie, but not quite as strong, but it has more applications, I guess. I like ties. I like cable ties, okay? So shoot me. I like them. I'm always gonna like them. And then the very last thing in this pouch is alcohol prep pads. I keep these everywhere because they're just infinitely useful for wiping things off, cleaning things, cleaning your hands, whatever it may be. Alcohol prep pads are just really handy, and they're usually pretty compact. So I keep just a few of those tucked inside that back pouch. So that's the kit right there. I keep everything inside this pouch. It's a lot of stuff, but I'm sure some of you are gonna tell me that some of this stuff is useless. I've got some redundancies in here, like 2 fire starters, because I have one on the Leatherman. This one's much better. I have another way to start fire. I've got multiple screwdrivers and bit kits and all sorts of stuff. So I'm sure you guys could tell me that I'm missing some things, or I've got too many redundancies, or I've got some stupid chintzy stuff in here, like this little grappling hook. But still, this is the kit that I have come up with, and I'm very happy with it. It's come in handy a few times already, and I've only put it together in the last like maybe month or so. So I'm very, very happy with it, and I'll keep you guys updated as I progress with it. But before I end this video, I guess I'll put everything back together to show you kind of how it goes back into place. The last time I did this was this morning, but I changed some things, so we'll see how well I do. Yo guys, if you enjoyed and found it helpful, be sure to hit that thumbs up button down below and subscribe to see more stuff like this in the future. And everything you see inside this kit, as well as the kit itself, everything I talked about in this video will be linked down below. If you click through and use those links, they're affiliate links. They help support the show. You can also support by going to carrycommission.com or carried.best or patreon.com/bestmedc. Follow us around the web. There's tons of social media and stuff. There's also some groups you can join on Facebook and Discord. Those are linked down below. But with all that said, and until next time, carry on.